up, everybody? My name is Thato Jessica, and this is the 20th Avenue podcast with me.
Thato Jessica, welcome to the 20th Avenue podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. This is the first time that we have you on this platform.
It is.
Yeah, I've been trying to have you since you're part of X Calibre.
Oh my god!
Since you're part of X Calibre.
It's really been that long.
Yeah, it's been that long.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank God for technology. I'm here today.
So, just take us back then, like, how did it all start, this whole music thing? How did it start?
Yeah. Actually, music for me started off in high school when I was in an art club and I went with my friends. We just wanted to go and audition and see if we could actually do this thing. And for the very first time, I performed in front of a crowd. And I remember I sang Amazing Grace. And the whole classroom was just like, what just happened? And I think that's the moment that I realized, okay, this is where my music started. That's where my whole love for music and my realization of it came. But like in terms of actually doing music and getting on stage a lot more, that started in X Calibre when I joined X Calibre in 2011. And it's exactly 10 years this year. 10 years this month since the first time we jumped on stage. So that's where my journey began.
Awesome. So, like, you had a talent, or you were taken into a choir or something, or it's something that was there at your house, at your family?
Yeah, so at home, my grandmother and I used to go to church a lot together because I grew up with my grandmother for the first 4 or 5 years of my life. My mom was in varsity, so I was being taken care of by my grandmother. I'm a grandmother baby.
Okay.
There's such things.
Yeah.
And we used to go to church together. So she's a singer by heart. She actually wanted to join a group called My Hotel Queens, but then she couldn't because, you know, old school parents, whatever. But I always say that I get my gift from her because that's where the singing for me was rooted. As a child, when we go to church, I would sing with my grandmother. So yeah.
Okay. So, how did you get to be part of X Calibre, an all group boy and you're the only girl inside?
Yes,
yeah.
Interesting story. So I went to a church called CFAN, and the guy who started X Calibre went to the same church as well. His name is Patrick, or you guys would know him as General. And he approached me. He was like, hey, listen, we're trying to put up a group together. There are these guys coming from the States. They're called Lingerie Unashamed. At the time, I didn't know anything. I had absolutely no idea who Lingerie was. I was kind of new in the Christian circle. Checked them out. I was like, is this hip hop and Christianity? And, you know, they asked me to join the group. And that's how I joined. You know, at first I was a bit hesitant because I used to sing with my friends. But they were like, no, just go join the group. Let's see how it's like. Also, you like hip hop, so you might like the group as well. So, yeah.
Okay. So how were the early days of X Calibre? And like, were you for this Christian hip hop music or yeah?
That's like, you know, early days of X Calibre was me discovering one, who I am, and two, the power of music. And not just the power of music, but everything was centered around our faith. Everything was centered around God. Everything was so wholesome because we felt like a family. And even when we made music, we knew that we were making meaningful music that reflected what we believed in. So I think for me, that's when I actually, you know, got to experience the power of music and what it is to work in a group and what it is to have the same heart and mind. You know, so there was a lot of lessons that I learned in X Calibre. Besides the lessons, I would say it was so much fun. We got to travel. We got to Zambia. We went to Cape Town. We were supposed to go to Kenya at some point. You know, so it exposed me to a lot of different experiences with music. So it was amazing. It was beautiful. It was a great experience.
I'm sure you're one of the best-selling local acts in the country.
I don't want to say that.
You almost said it.
I feel like I haven't performed enough to say I'm one of the best local performing artists.
No, I meant selling, like in terms of records. Like X Calibre used to sell a lot of records.
Christian, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we did quite well. in the Christian circle as X Calibre because we were part of a movement that was unashamed about the gospel. And you know, there was a time that we did a walk, there was a time that we had prayer sessions. So like we were always at the forefront of these things, like creating a soundtrack for the movement. That's what we always used to say about X Calibre.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened to X Calibre?
That's a good question. So a lot of things happened. I think with being in a group, there comes a lot of dynamics.
Yeah.
One, we're all different people. We're all different artists,
Yeah.
and we're all trying to develop in different spaces, different times. So I think when people started to develop their own solo careers, the group kind of just took a step back or like a back seat, and you know, individual artists were saying, okay, we're still part of the group, but we still want to explore ourselves individually.
Okay.
Right? So I think that was the main focus of why we decided to just like subside on the group work and focus on the individual work. But also there were like a bit of issues, but I'm gonna protect my brothers. I'm not gonna say it on camera for the sake of peace. But you know, groups do split, and I think that's also what happened to us. And it's a natural thing because sometimes we look at things like group splitting and we're like, oh no, this was terrible. But there's seasons and times for everything, and we just need to accept that things won't be the same. So I mean, it was sad that the group went their separate ways, but I to this day I can still call any of the guys and just be like, hey, what's up, how are you doing, do you want to get on the song or whatever. Some guys are now family guys, you know, they have kids now. Some guys are leading churches, some guys are like off and in different countries. So I'm just like, you know, everybody's in a different space. If at all we were to come together, that would be beautiful. But yeah.
So is there any chance of the group kissing and making up?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I've tried to reach out a couple of times, but I think most of them are not in that space, and I respect that. So I don't know. I'm willing to, like, if they are, but not to say, okay, X Calibre is back. Maybe like a reunion track or like a reunion project, something where we could just celebrate the fact that we've done this for quite some time. So that would be interesting if we decide to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the group breaks up now.
Yes.
You're now individual. You as an individual, what's on your mind? Like, what are you planning to do? Yeah, from a background, Christian hip hop background.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you all of a sudden you drop in some R&B.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is my thing. I think because I was in the group for so long, people kind of thought that's all I could do.
Yeah.
You know, and breaking out as a solo artist is always difficult in the sense of you starting up your new image, your new self, introducing yourself to the crowd because they know you as that girl in X Calibre. So I had to rediscover myself and figure out what it is that I liked with music, because in as much as I was in a hip-hop group, I like R&B, I love soul, I like jazz, you know. So those are some of the things that I needed to re-explore. And the first thing that I did was I worked on a project called Seasons, and it was a 5-track EP. It was basically live instruments, and I was playing around trying to figure out my sound, and after Seasons, that's when my other songs came out, Busho Me, and then now to the project that, you know, took me out there, which was Rehearsal. That's the one that has Problem as the, you know, the main song. So yeah, I don't know if you want me to keep going about my journey. Yeah, so then after Problem, you know, it opened a lot of opportunities for me, and then that's when we made the big move to go to South Africa, and we started touring. We did a radio tour in South Africa, we did a media tour, we did TV, and we invested a lot of money into that song because we believed in it so much. It didn't bring back as much as we invested, but I feel like it was a stepping stone to where I'm headed and what I'm doing right now with my career.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So before I touch up on going to S and everything, let's just talk about the sound, the music.
Yes.
It's some fresh R&B, like that 90s, with that 90s vibe,
Yes.
which is not common in Botswana.
Yes.
It's not common in Botswana,
Yeah.
especially from Botswana artists.
Absolutely.
But you're brave enough to take that step, and
Yes.
you kicked hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because one thing that I believe in is authenticity. I think that is one thing that no one can take away from you. because what makes you you is you. You know, I used to get asked this question a lot. People would be like, so what makes you different as an artist? I used to struggle a lot to answer it because I'm like, what do you want me to say? It's me. The fact that I'm authentic and I'm doing what I love, I'm singing R&B, that is something that my mother and I used to listen to in the car, you know? I used to watch my mother connect to R&B songs and have this emotional thing, and I would also just jump in. Sometimes I would just cry watching her listen because that's how, you know, intimate R&B has always been in my life. You know, I remember my first CD that my mother bought me was Alicia Keys, and I used to sing all her songs all the time, you know, and that was even before I got saved, before I was even a Christian and all that. So for me, rediscovering that sound as a solo artist was such a beautiful thing because I kind of re-identified myself and redefined myself to say, Thato, you are so much more. You're not just a hip hop or R&B artist, you can do so much more. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does.
Okay.
It does. Go to the point.
Yeah.
So for a music genre which is not common for locals in the country,
Yes.
all of a sudden you receive a lot of love.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think made Botswana to fall in love with you in your craft?
Honestly, I think I'm gonna be honest and say my move to South Africa got me a lot of traction in Botswana. It's kind of weird because that's how things work here. It's very weird. It's like they kind of wait for you to get accepted out there before they say, oh my god, this person is amazing or whatever. So after I got that recognition, I did a project with Nasty C, Teleman, all those guys in South Africa. We had a whole 3 days in Cape Town, and I think that for me kind of like it brought in a lot of more traction for my brand, for my music, for my art and as an artist altogether. But all in all, beyond the exposure that I got in South Africa, I would say authenticity. You know, when you're being true to yourself, people can see it, and you don't have to try and fake it and be whatever and do whatever. So I think just me being myself actually like brought in the love.
Okay, so you go to South Africa, you hook up with big names. These are people that you don't just like call and say, come for a podcast interview and stuff like that. You have to go through a record label and stuff like that. Management and all.
Yeah.
How did you get to
work with them?
Yeah.
Okay, so they had a competition. It was called the Lift As You Rise competition.
Yeah.
So basically they put out an ad or whatever to African artists, and they said, hey, give us your best 16 bars. We're gonna get the best 10, 11, and we're taking you guys to Cape Town. Red Bull is sponsoring all of this, and we're gonna work on a project. So Nessie Tall Rex Records, which is his record label, that was the one that was preparing all of this. And out of like 12,000 submissions, I made it to the top 11, and we went to Cape Town and we worked with them. That's how I got to work with those guys.
All right. So after Cape Town, after this Red Bull project,
Yes.
a lot of people are anticipating that like you'll be settling in South Africa and producing more hits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what was going around that period? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
So that was in 2019.
Yes.
And then 2020, COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
So it was literally like, I was just picking up on the music in SA. So when COVID hit, I had to come back home. And also my private life, I was going through like a separation and a divorce. So there was a lot that happened, and I had to like pause first on the music and make sure that I'm okay. Because if I'm not okay, then the music is not gonna come out. So I came back home, I had to resettle, had to rediscover, redefine again, you know, and that's when I recuperated myself. January 2021, I went back to Joburg. And this year I've just been doing a lot of traveling between Botswana and South Africa because I've been trying to grow my brand in both countries. I think it's important to have support back home while I'm still hustling in South Africa. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, a lot of back and forth this year.
All right. You mentioned that you went through some challenges, personal problems,
Yes.
separation and a divorce.
Yes.
Note that we want you to talk about the details of what led.
What happened?
Yeah. Just take us through like the process,
Yeah.
the struggle that you went through, and
Yeah.
how you managed to get over it.
All right. It's not really getting over it. It's more of like healing and learning to live with it. Because to get over it is like, but for me, I felt like it was a process because every month was like a work in progress. But just a little background for anybody who doesn't know. I met my husband in X Calibre, the group that I was in, and he was also my producer. So when we separated, I lost not just a friend, but a producer and a music partner because we used to do stuff together. So that was very difficult because I obviously had to restart again and figure out who am I going to work with? Do I still want to have the same sound? What am I going to do? You know, there was a lot of rediscovering that had to happen after leaving, you know. And why I left, obviously, I can't tell you guys because, you know, we got to respect people's relationships, got to respect people's journeys. But I would say that for me, it wasn't a decision that I regretted. It was something that I felt I needed to do. And I'm grateful that I did because that bold step, it's not easy for someone to say, I'm going to get a divorce, especially one in an African country, two from a Christian background. So that was a very heavy decision for me to make. I had to leave a lot of people behind me because I wanted to choose myself. I wanted to choose my own happiness and I wanted to choose what I felt was right and what was in my destiny, you know. So sometimes you have to let go of people to be able to walk into what you are truly destined for. And that's what I believe happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys break up after how many years of marriage
So
and
we were
dating?
engaged, yes. We dated for a year, we were engaged for another year, and we were married for 4 years.
Okay.
So by the time we were separated, our marriage had been 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And we had been together for 7 years. So that was my first relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was one of those Christian girls who waited for marriage and all that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it
So
was a great experience.
it was, right?
Yeah, it was. And I actually don't regret waiting for marriage. People are like, oh my God, why would you wait for marriage? You know, what if he's not good in bed?
Wow. So
Is this a family podcast?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like I'm glad I did because then when I got in, I was learning
Okay.
with the person that I was with.
Okay.
And that was great because then I didn't have any other comparisons or whatever. So it was good. I'm grateful for that experience.
All right.
Yeah.
So are we dating at the moment? No.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to like
No.
getting married sometime?
I'm so far from that because I feel I'm enjoying being single so much
Okay.
that sometimes I even fear whether I'll be able to get into a relationship again.
Okay.
I don't know. Right now I'm in love with my journey. I'm in love with my career. I'm in love with the woman that I'm becoming, you know. And I'm very jealous about my heart because I've worked so hard. I worked so hard to heal, to understand myself, to value myself, that if I'm going to give my heart again to someone again, it's gonna take a lot, you know? Yeah. Do I go on dates? Yeah, I go on dates, but like I'm not in that space where I'm like saying I want to get into a relationship. If I do, you guys, I guess we'll see it, but don't expect me to tell you about it.
Okay, so if you're saying that you do go on dates, like if a guy approaches you saying, Thato, can I please take you out tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of very picky, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving back to the music.
Yes.
You've broken up with a long-time producer, music partner,
Yes.
like someone that you've worked with, like
Since the beginning.
Like
since I got into music.
Yeah. Does it contribute to the changing of your sound? Because those are not the same fingers that were pressing the keys, or the fingers that were strumming the guitar.
Well, okay, even though he wasn't producing directly for me, we got producers like Amo Beats, Flex the Ninja, and those were the guys who were my producers, Stretch as well. Okay. He was more of like the creative director.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of like what it is that we're doing, how the project is going to run, things like that. He would input a lot into it. Obviously when he left, that means his influence left as well. That meant I had to now figure out what I want completely without any, influence from anybody else. What is it that I want to express? What is it that I want my music to have? And that's when I just, came alive and said, hey, Thato, I can do whatever I want. Like, if I want to express myself this way, I'm going to do it. So, yeah, I think that's how it shifted, because then now there wasn't like an external influence to what it is that I want to do with my music. Everything came from inside of me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's making music without him now?
It's
the experience.
It's a new experience, and it's also beautiful. It's great because I'm also learning to be independent, and I'm learning how to take control of my art, to take control of my voice. And my voice is not like my singing voice, but like what it is that I want to say, I think also because we came from such a conservative background of Christianity, there was a lot of things that I couldn't talk about in my music, like sex, and now I can freely talk about it because I feel I'm at that point where I'm comfortable enough with myself, I'm comfortable enough with who I am to explore and talk about anything that I want to talk about. So I know with my new song, everybody was just like, oh my God, she has lingerie. Oh my God, is this that? Is this the new Thato Jessica? And I'm just like, no, guys, this is a part of me. I'm not gonna be doing sex songs all the time or sensual songs all the time. No, this is just a part of me. It's a part of my expression. So I'm excited for other aspects of me to also come out, because I'm working on my album and it's coming out next year. And I am so excited because then I feel people will have a wholesome idea of who Thato Jessica is.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, on the new song, you're showing some skin. You're showing some skin.
A lot of skin.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there was a lot of like holding and touching.
Because you know why?
Yeah.
I've come to accept that I'm a very sensual person. Naturally, I am. I remember there was a song that we did in X Calibre. It was called Hypnosis. Now that I listen to it back again, I'm just like, ooh. That song was saying, Lord, I can only do this thing if you're on it. But I was like, the expression was a bit sensual for a gospel song. And I had to accept that this is me, hey? Because I think sometimes we suppress aspects of ourselves out of fear. That, oh my God, what are people going to say if I talk about this and that and that and that and that? But the moment you suppress anything that is naturally inside of you, you are losing your authenticity. And for me, like, that is the core of what my music is all about, is I am going to be real about what I go through, about who I am, about what I want, about where I want to be. So even with New Chapter, when New Chapter came out, I was expressing my new chapter that, okay, I'm in a new space now. I'm about to explore myself. It's a new chapter for me. I'm going to break out and do everything that I've always wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does it mean that like that Christian background values that you had has been a bit distorted, or you were caged back then? Like
I wouldn't say distorted. I would say that, to be frank with you, it would be very unfair to say that I still believe in Christianity as much as I did. I believe in the principles of the Bible. I believe in God. And I believe in faith. I believe in spiritual experiences. And I think that has shifted over time, regardless of my music or my marriage or whatever it is that I went through. I think this was just a personal evolution of my own spirituality, where I've come to accept that spirituality is broad. It's not just Christianity. There's spectrums of faith that exist. And I'm willing to explore anything and everything with the guidance of the faith that I have in the God that I first believed in, So I'm not going to block myself. And I remember when I started this journey of really experiencing and like exploring spirituality, I said, God, if I'm in the wrong path, take me out of it, because I want the truth. That's all I want. I want the truth about the Bible. I want the truth about God. I want the truth about spirituality. So that in itself is a whole new topic. But I'm just going to quickly touch on it and say that I had to read the Bible for myself. And I had to research and to deep think and to really, really see if whether this thing is what I believe in. So the phase that I'm at right now is a phase of discovery, and it's a phase of exploring in terms of spirituality. I haven't settled to say this is now what I believe now. My background is Christianity, and that I can never, ever, ever, ever deny, you know. And as I'm doing whatever spiritual experiences that I am doing, it's under the background of my knowledge of God through Christianity. Yeah.
So what are Bazalwane saying?
Bazalwane were not happy, hey?
Now that you're showing skin and you're talking about...
I think even before the showing of the skin, because I was gradually preparing people.
Yeah.
The thing about me is that, like, I'm quite aware that people are watching my life. So even when I do my transitions, I do them with the accountability that people are watching me, you know? Not to say that I'm going to now, you know, focus on what people are expecting of me, but I was like, okay, that's going to be too drastic for people to adjust to. You know, if I just like quickly go from Jesus and then next thing I'm just like twerking on camera, you know. So the transition was gradual, and if you look at my journey, you will see that the transition was gradual, you know, also because in my life it was a gradual change. It's not like I just completely switched up, you know what I mean. So what did Bazalwane say? Bazalwane were not happy because I think most of them in the church were just like, oh, you've lost the way, you don't believe in God anymore, of which I respect, and that's why I had to step back from them, because you can't work with people if you don't agree with them, if you don't believe, and if you don't have the same heart and mind with them. So I took a step back because I was like, there's no point of me being in a place where I'm going to constantly be shunned down for choosing to be happy, for choosing to doing what I love, you know. So I mean, I lost friends, I lost people that I felt were like parents to me, you know. But at the same time, when I chose this new journey, I found friends that became family, and people who supported me in places where even at church, people have never done that, you know? And it was surprising to me. I was like, oh my God, people are this supportive? Because when you grow up in the church, you have this mentality that, oh, it's us versus them, it's the world versus the church. You know, there's always that thing. But then once you release yourself from those religious shackles and you go out there and you see people, you're just like, oh my God, people are people. They want to be loved. They want to be cared for, you know? They also want to love and they also want to give. So that's what I've learned also in this phase as well, is that, you know, I've lost people, but I've also gained people. So yeah.
All right, so are you still going to church?
No. Yeah. I'm not. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that people who leave church shy away from talking about this because they're afraid of what people will say. But I'm not going to church. I'm not going to church because the institution for me has not given me the confidence in my faith. People do not live what they say. People do not live up to the standard that they preach. Not only just people, but I feel like the institution itself has now taken away the essence of what it is to love God. You know, it's now become so dutiful. It's all about packing chairs and attendance and all of this instead of your heart, what you believe in, because that's what faith is. Faith is what is inside of you. It's not about what you do at church. It's how you live your life. Yes, so faith is basically about how you live your life and what it is that you add into people's lives. So for me, going to church it hasn't become a part of the new chapter the new Thato, the new phase that I'm at, because I'm learning to be more practical with my faith by living it out every day in the way that I speak to people, the way that I give, the way that I live my life, basically. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. You mentioned that you're working on your album, which is coming out next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us more about this album and who we're working with and stuff.
Yes. The reason why I'm so excited about this album is because I think it's a culmination of who I am. If I can be honest with you guys, I haven't even written a single track that's going to be on the album. You know what I've done though? I've written stories. I've written stories about what I want to sing about. Because I want this album to be a storytelling album. I want it to be something that any African child, doesn't matter if you're from Botswana or if you listen to R&B or not or whatever, can relate to. In the sense that as a creative in Africa, we deal with little resources. We deal with making the most out of the smallest things. We deal with trying to be creative with things that you get on the ground, you know? So for me, I think this album is also about being resourceful and being creative. And that's something that any African child can relate to, because we don't have a lot of things here. We're not in first world countries, but we make things happen. We have 2 ring lights here and a camera, and we're shooting a podcast, you know? And this isn't somebody's place, and we're making magic. And you know, we don't have these big budgets, but we're creating beautiful works that can be exported. So yeah, that's why I'm so excited about my album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So who's producing it this time around, and who's the creative director?
Yes. So there's a lot of producers on my album this time around, because now I'm taking everyone that I've worked with from the beginning.
Yeah.
And not just everyone that I've worked with, also new people. So there's going to be a producer from South Africa. His name is Lasty. He's the one who produced my latest single. Then there's another producer in Nigeria. His name is Dr. Set. So I've done a collaboration with him before. I'm definitely working with Amo Beats. He's my producer for days. He's basically the generic producer of Thato Jessica. If you hear Thato Jessica, that's Amo Beats. Flex the Ninja as well. I'm also looking forward to working with instrumentalists, because I'm going back to my first project where I worked with instrumentalists and then we added producers later. So for my songwriting process, it's going to be with instrumentalists, and then we bring in the producers to come and add more spice and flavor. Okay. Sorry, I have hiccups.
Okay, are you nervous? This project
No,
making you nervous?
I'm just naturally like this.
Okay. All right.
But we can continue.
All right. So before we close, I see you also performing at a lot of what you call events and jam sessions. What's the strategic plan there?
I think as an artist, it's important for you to perform.
Yeah.
You can be in studio and create magic. That's wonderful. People will listen to it on radio. But where your music really touches people is when you are with them, when they can feel your energy. And performing for me is very important, because not only does it give people another side to my music, but it also gives people a side to me. You know, when I'm standing there and I'm performing Tidal, people can understand and feel the heart behind the music. So I'm doing all of these live performances right now because I feel like they're preparing me for the bigger stage. When my album comes out, guys, you're going to be surprised. And I'm going to say this on your podcast. I'm going to be one of the biggest superstars to come out of this country. And I'm not doing it just for me. I'm doing it because I feel we need someone to open the door for every other creator who's coming. And I'm willing to take that first bullet. I keep saying this all the time. I have a big dream, and it's not for me. It's for everyone who's coming after me, you know. So that's why I do what I do, and that's why I go all out. That's why I chose a path that nobody goes in. That's why I chose R&B, because I was authentic to myself, and I want anyone else who's behind me, who is trying to be themselves, to be able to do it, you know? To show as me, go to me being that example to say, if she can do it, I can do it. And if she could do it from Botswana, I can do it, you know? So, yeah.
All right. I like the confidence, which means this will also be the biggest podcast after everything has been said and done.
I looked in the camera straight and I was like, I'm going to be one of the biggest superstars to come out of this country.
Yeah. So,
without a flinch.
Before we shut it down,
Yeah.
because of time,
Yes.
what do you think can be improved to help local music go to greater heights?
I think it's us connecting more to the world.
Uh-huh.
Because local music is not just local music anymore.
Yeah.
Local music has expanded because of the connections of the world. We need to broaden our horizon as musicians, as artists, as creatives, because connecting with other people in other places is what's going to help us grow. So that's where I'm headed as well. I'm planning on really working with different African artists, because as Botswana and as local artists, we need to see that our space is bigger than we think. We are huge. Africa is big, and that's my dream. It's always been my dream. So I would really encourage local artists to expand themselves and to see themselves as the global village that we are, to see themselves as the international people that we are. Because nowadays you get on TikTok, you post something, somebody in China can see it, somebody in Europe can see it. It just brings the versatility of the kind of people who are watching us. So I would encourage people to actually start collaborating with other local artists from other countries, because that in itself is growing us, and it's also growing you as an artist. So I think more collaborations, more partnerships with people from outside.
All right. So we're looking forward for the release of your album, and to have a listening session with you. Hopefully you'd agree that we premiere it on this podcast.
Listen, actually speak to Carnito about it, and you guys can have an exclusive interview for the listening session and all that. So this is on camera, on record.
Yeah.
On record. Speak to Carnito, and we'll get you guys an exclusive pass to the listening session for my album.
Thato Jessica.
Yes.
What do you want to be remembered as when it's all said and done?
Wow.
Yeah.
My heart has always been for this continent. I don't know why. It's something that was born inside of me. I've always had Africa in my heart, and I want to make a difference in this continent. I want people to be able to express their Africanicity without fear. I don't have to wear an African print to say I'm African. I'm African because I'm African. I want to build a legacy that will allow people to express themselves and be authentic, because I did that, and I opened doors for them. I want to be a pioneer. That's what I want to be remembered as.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for paying us a visit.
Thank you for having me.
And we're looking forward to many of these sit-downs and conversations.
Thank you.
It's a wrap.